that. And currently, because of the storm, which is coming in, and it looks brutal. Jerry Reynolds just lost power. Jerry lives in a log cabin, and Jerry has a tiny little generator out in the woods. And so we are waiting until Jerry's power comes back on. So hopefully it won't be that long. Apparently his wife has called the power company or the generator company or the candle company, and they are trying. Well, they have to wait until the power comes back on, but they did not think it was going to be that long. All right, so Ryan's going to come on with me in a couple of moments. We do think we're going to have Jerry on, so that is good news. How about De'Aaron Fox last night? I did a rant on this today. I talked about it on the postgame show. Speaking of the postgame show, guess where I'll be in a couple of hours? Right here, back doing the postgame show after the Kings and the Hawks. But brutal weather, and really, if you are going to the game tonight or whatever the case, please be careful, as this storm does look to be pretty ferocious, to say the least. The good news is, as we start 2023 and on the heels of last week's storm, maybe we won't hear the word drought for 2023 in the Sacramento and all of California. That would certainly be nice, would it not? Happy New Year, right? In the process, let's hope that nobody loses their life. Let's hope that people get through this okay. So that is, I guess, the good news. So Jerry is hopefully going to get his power back. And here we are. I see Jerry on my screen right now. I'm going to wait a minute until he's off the phone, and then we'll see if he is back. All right, Jerry, I can see you. Can you hear me, buddy?
I can see and hear you.
Wow. Well, you didn't pay your electric bill? I mean, a little 25 to 30 mile an hour wind knocks your power out, or what?
Yeah, I guess so. And I don't know, what it was. It could be a bird taking a dump on a power line or something. I don't know. but I mean, I think we're expecting, there's a good chance for those sorts of things around. So anyway, It's all good now.
Yeah, I don't know about a bird on a power line right now with the wind the way it is. That could be a little tricky,
Be a tough bird, wouldn't it?
Speaking of a tough bird, we saw a tough fox last night. You think that's the best game you've ever seen De'Aaron Fox play?
I think it was, because I mean, he truly took over that game down the stretch and made every basket. Just simply played like a superstar when you needed a superstar, and the Kings wouldn't have won the game any other way. Obviously, I think Fox does do a nice job of saving his energy and playing his way into the game. I know a lot of fans have a problem with that.
Yep.
But I mean, I've watched enough hoops over the year, and so many of the top players tend to kind of try to get rhythm of the game, play themselves into it, and hopefully have the extra energy when they need it the most.
I did a show after the Memphis game with Ryan, the post-game show, and there were so many people on my stream, and I don't know if they're just trolls or what, but there was a lot of criticism for De'Aaron Fox. And it just seems to me, and I understand he's the equivalent of a quarterback on an NFL team. And when the team's going well, you're going to reap the success, and when not, you're going to get criticized. I think that and again, I don't want to stereotype the group of fans. It just seems to me there's a group of people, and it's not just a few, that are overly critical of Fox. I mean, without De'Aaron Fox, the Kings have no chance of making the playoffs. They would have no chance of being a 500 team. Is he Steph Curry? No. Is he Ja Morant? No. But I mean, he's not chopped liver. He's a damn good player.
Yeah, he's playing at an all-star level. I don't know that he'll make the all-stars. There's a lot of guards in the West that, it's just when you get down to a number. But I agree with you. And I've been a critical of Fox in the past. And I think that a lot of people, and I get that because I think it was deserved. But at some point you got to move past that. You got to let your eyes tell you what you're seeing. And
right.
And the numbers support it. I mean, he's a 50% shooter, scoring, about 1.4 points a shot. That's a big time winning number there. So, and I think he's given a more than legitimate effort on defense, and he's rebounding well for guard. So, yeah, like I say, you take me back a couple of years, and I was not very comfortable with Fox, for the kind of contract he had, and I thought a lot of his numbers were empty numbers, uh, and there is that type,
Hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
but they're not now, and so my only advice to fans is move on, just be
Yep.
fair with what you see.
Yep.
That's all.
We got Eduardo in Chile watching. Hello in South America to Eduardo. So, Jerry, you're talking about your eyes, okay? Is that similar to what you told me about 10 years ago in the midst of another horrible season when you said, you know what our most important job is, right? I said, no, what's that? You said, to tell people that they're not seeing what they're actually seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna
so,
say
so,
that I always, yeah, I remember that we were in Memphis sitting around and near the end of the season and
yeah.
things were going like they'd been going. And I said, what our main job is, it's we got to get on there and convince people they're not seeing what they're actually seeing or they'd turn it off.
Oh, my
But
God.
I don't think, you don't have to do that now. This is
Yeah.
actually if I had a criticism of the broadcast team, I'd say focus more on the game,
Yeah.
the game on the floor, the action on the floor, because this is a fun team and a talented team. I don't know how it's all going to play out, but I know just about every night they play, they have a chance to win.
Jerry, how pathetic was that call on Keegan Murray at the end of the game last night? I mean, how can they call that a foul on him? Seriously.
Yeah, no, it's kind of gotten out of hand. I think with 3-point shooters, it's almost like you're not allowed to defend them because honestly, any 3-point shooter kind of moves forward quite a bit. And I understand you can't get under their feet and all that, but yeah, that's it's consistent though. I'll say that they consistently miss them on every team in every game. And I watch a lot of them. And it's
Yeah.
like, and just like you said on that one, it's like you see one or two every game, just like that. You say, what in the world were you watching?
Unbelievable. Altitude will have no issue on how the Kings play tonight. That's a non-issue. The issue is that they played last night and Atlanta didn't. That's the issue. Altitude has no bearing on the game whatsoever. But, again, this is interesting. The NBA normally does not do this when you play a team only twice. When the Kings were in Atlanta earlier in the season, they played in Memphis the night before. And the Hawks, so they went in on a back-to-back. And here tonight, they're on a back-to-back. That's unusual. They normally don't do
It,
that.
yeah, it really is. And I mean, one thing I really do like that they do have doing this year is having teams play two games, visiting teams playing two games at the home site, like Denver last week. I mean, that makes more sense travel wise. And, I mean, I think it's a case where fans are okay with it at this state,
Who
but rather
cares?
than having back to backs with
Yeah.
an extra travel involved in back to backs, just play back to backs in the same place.
Well, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in all the years that I did games with you, I don't ever recall playing the Knicks and the Nets back to back. I mean, I don't ever recall playing them where we stayed in the city for 3 nights or 4 nights and had both the teams, either back to back, meaning night, then the next night, or night, day off, next day. I just never understood that. Made no sense to me.
No, I agree. I mean, that would have been so logical. You just find a hotel and you stay, and obviously whether you played back to back or even took a day in between, it just been so much better. But what are you gonna do?
I wanted to put
You know,
you
I-
on full screen so I can see your beautiful office. That
yeah,
I
I was
wanted to
gonna
get a
say.
better
I was
look at
wondering,
that.
if you're trying to make a move on me there, but
Yeah, well, I just think people need to see how beautiful your office is, so I just wanted to check it out.
yeah, it's a little messy, but
Yeah.
Mrs. Reynolds is gonna have to get on the ball here. She was telling me the other day, she said, you have two real faults that I can't get past. And I said, well, what are these? She said, you don't listen. And now I can't remember the other one, but so,
Oh my
so
God.
that's how you stay married 55 years. You just forget most of it.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Oh man, yeah. The Houston Rockets are coming in for 2 consecutive games, but there is a day off in between. So again, the schedule is the schedule. Jerry always said it best. Other than the Lakers and the Clippers, every team in the league plays 41 at home and 41 on the road.
Yeah, and then the Clippers will have their own play, so that'll be better.
Yeah,
But that
yeah,
really hasn't been fair. I
yeah,
mean, it really hasn't been. Because when the Lakers play the Clippers play the Lakers. That's still a home game for them.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. All right. So the Kings are 20-16. I think most people would have taken a one-on-one road trip before they got on the plane to fly to Memphis. So a job well done. And now we're in a similar situation to what we were in 2 weeks ago with the schedule. You look at a Kings team that came off their last road trip at 3-3 after winning 2 games consecutively at Toronto and at Detroit, and you're thinking, okay, this is going to be great. We're gonna watch the team build up their schedule. Ooh, they come home, they play the worst team in the East in Charlotte. They lose. They beat a bad Lakers team, and then 2 nights later they lose to a Washington team that had lost 11 of 12. So to me, all bets are off. I don't even think it matters who the team is playing anymore. It's just, they cannot have those type of losses with the way the Western Conference is looking anymore.
No, and really the point is, and we've talked about it a little bit, is that really the Kings can beat any team in this league. They've already proven it, and they can lose to
Mhm.
any team in the league, and that
Yep.
applies to the Boston Celtics as well, or the Denver Nuggets, because the best teams that we think are the best teams, they've lost to some of the worst teams. So, uh, you know, Celtics go into Oklahoma City and get embarrassed last night.
Yep. How about that,
So
huh?
that's the league. If you're not ready to play at your
Hmm.
best, you're vulnerable to anybody on your schedule.
I couldn't believe it when I saw that score, 150 points. Is that unbelievable or what?
Yeah, they didn't just get beat; they got romped,
Yeah.
and they had their main guys there. So that's I think that's the NBA though. And I mean, I always remember my first year in the league scouting. I think it was Utah, and of course they were a good team, a playoff team, and I watched them get beat 60 points in Golden State, who wasn't particularly good. And
Yep.
the next night they win on a back to back against somebody. But that's the league.
Yeah. Well, the league also, you see what Donovan Mitchell did the other night. We saw what Klay Thompson did. It's just amazing some of the individual efforts and performances we're seeing. And then the team performance last night. Again, I think that just was staggering to everyone that saw that score. That was incredible. But we've seen just some outrageous performances in the last week.
Yeah, the individual stuff, and I think we're going to see more of it because of the style of play. I mean, the game. Quite honestly, and I mean, I'm not trying to sound like an old curmudgeon, even though I am. There's a lot of easy baskets in the game today.
Hmm.
Non-contested because of the quick pace, lack of physical play to some degrees, where guys get a lot of free throws where they wouldn't have got them years ago, and so that lends itself to some big scoring nights. And we saw one Devin Booker not long ago, and of
That's
course,
right.
and like I say, Fox gets 22 and a quarter. Uh, you know, on that one note, Klay Thompson. I think Clay's back, which should bode well for the
Oh boy.
Warriors, and maybe
Yep.
not for the league, because
That's right.
once they get Wiggins and Curry back,
They're as good
they're
as
going to
anyone.
move up the line, I think.
I agree. All right, so someone might be on their way to French Lick. I don't know if you still are up to speed with where to go entertainment. I know you've always told me they have a phenomenal golf course there, and that they have events there, and it's big time.
Yeah, well, they have two championship courses: a Donald Ross course and a
Hmm.
Pete Dye course. And
Hmm.
they played championship events there. LPGA Champions Tour has played there. Uh, the interesting little restaurant I would recommend if you go is called Bistro 33. It's right on what's called a main street, if you could call it that, and that's
Hmm.
in kind of in honor of Larry. And
Sure.
they got a lot of Larry's memorabilia in there, and it's actually his. He gave them to him, so
Oh,
that'd
really?
be a nice, yeah, nice little spot. Uh, so, but it's like I say, there's two 4-star hotels, the French Lick Resort and the West Baden Springs Hotel, both 4-star hotels with probably 1,000 rooms between them. They could
All
hold an
right.
all-star game there easier than they can here in Sacramento.
You know what? Great point. Scouts still do travel. This is a question from Jeff. He wanted to know if, maybe with cost cutting measures, pandemic. Well, during the pandemic, nobody was traveling, but yeah, scouts are traveling. Jerry, I think that's an interesting question from Jeff, and I know you've done a lot of that. So, can you talk about why it is so important for a scout to be on site at the game as opposed to watching it on television?
I think it's tremendously important. I'll tell you why. At least for a couple of games. Say I'm going to go watch a top prospect. I want to see him live a couple of times for this reason. And then after that, TV's fine or tape, But what you can't see on TV or tape or whatever, I don't think you can get a feel of the quickness
Hmm.
and the strength. Just that, because I always thought, we talked about it a lot during broadcast. I always felt like, I lost a lot by having to move up, but I could always felt like I could tell where there was a quickness advantage, on a player. Maybe we had an advantage or they had an advantage, and it's harder to tell that, on TV. But as you know, up close and personal, you can say, "Oh yeah, this is going to be a tough cover for so and so,"
All right.
and
What about
and so
coaches
you get
calling
an
out?
idea of a
Yeah.
guy. It's
Yeah.
like say like an Allen Iverson. First time I saw him, it's like, holy crap, I've never seen anybody this quick.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, people tell you that but then it's like anything. It's like going to Grand Canyon or something. You can't really know, the specialty of it.
I had the same feeling the first time I watched Fox, in person as opposed to watching him on the screen in Kentucky. And I know, it's college basketball, but he didn't get any faster in a couple of months going from Kentucky to Sacramento. But the first time I saw him on the court, I was like, whoa. I mean, it was like, whoa.
Yeah, his speed, quickness, and body control is just right at the upper limits,
Yeah.
of whoever's played. I always say probably the best offensive player I ever saw play for the Kings was Tiny Archibald in his
Well,
prime, and I used to watch him practice all the time, and nobody could guard him. It didn't make any difference what size. He's just too quick. And Fox is a lot like that. I won't say he's as good as Tiny was at his ultimate prime. I wouldn't say
no.
that yet, but he's got some of those same skills that boy in the open court and even a half court with a live dribble, he is awfully tough to stay in front of.
Would you say that Fox at this age was the equivalent to the Caucasian Comet at maybe 18 or 19?
He's getting close. He is getting close. I
Yeah.
gotta say, it's tough for me, but I gotta say he's moving in that direction.
Oh my gosh. I still can't believe they called you the Caucasian Comet in French. I mean, seriously. I mean, you know, it's I'm just thinking Jerry Reynolds and the Caucasian Comet. I'm sorry. In my mind, it just doesn't go together.
Well, no, I think I got that. We'd play and always play summer ball, and but I was working at the hotels there, resorts, and a lot of college guys, black guys from college would come in
Uh-huh.
and work, and so we'd go out and play basketball, and on the outdoor courts and stuff like that. And I always remember one guy. That's what he called me. He said, "Man, you're just like a Caucasian comet," and and so.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If you said that now, you'd probably have a group of people that would find it offensive and stuff. So I'm glad that was back in an era where people, weren't so sensitive
Yeah,
about
we
everything.
just enjoyed each other's company and playing basketball together and competing. We didn't really think
Oh,
things that weren't an issue were an issue. We just didn't do
yeah.
that.
Somebody said that Danny Ainge looked more athletic in person. Danny was a hell of an athlete. He was a
He
great
was a
athlete. I mean, he
best
played pro
athlete probably the
baseball.
Kings have ever had.
Yeah, no, he was. He's the greatest athlete the Kings have ever had. I mean, think about that. He was a starting third baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays, and what he did playing for the Celtics, and that was the heyday, and then obviously Sacramento and Portland. But I agree with you. Who was a better athlete than Danny Ainge?
No, and he, like I say, two-time All-Star. I mean, he proved that, and of course, I think I've told you this story. And a lot of other people always remember Danny. Dick Motta kind of turned on Danny after Danny. He was giving a big lecture to everybody, telling the guys, "If you do what I do, you'll have one of these." Held up his championship ring, and Danny said, "Well, maybe they ought to listen to me. I got two." And so that was pretty much the end of Danny in Sacramento.
Hey, maybe they should listen to me. I've got two. Is that a classic or what?
Well, that's and as you know, Danny, so that doesn't surprise you a bit, does it? I mean that's I mean once you know him, I mean he used to bust my
Hey, Dan.
chops on a regular basis,
Yeah,
and
me too. I mean, he
you
was
know
always
I
busting my
tried to
chops.
bust his, but I wasn't near as effective.
The best advice you ever gave me was the first time I went over to Danny Ainge's house in Granite Bay to play tennis. And you go, hey, now I'm just going to give you a little advice here. Okay. If you're playing and you're in a tough game, you're in it, if the match is and the ball is even close, it's in on your side. You don't call it out. If it's even
Yeah.
close, just keep your mouth closed and play the point. And
Yeah.
that was the best advice you ever gave me.
Oh, yeah. No, he just, a few times I played, he just abused me. He just got so, and I thought I was fairly decent at that time, in
Right.
my 50s, maybe, or late 40s. And he'd play me left handed and beat my butt,
Yeah.
just switch hands. So,
I'll tell you,
there's,
he was so
there's a,
competitive.
yeah, yeah. You learn quick.
I'm not kidding you though. I didn't realize what you were telling me, and I knew you were joking at first. But then after I got on the court, he was so competitive. When I was playing against him,
Oh,
he intimidated me with his competitiveness because I'm like, we're just playing a game of tennis here. No, not with Danny. Every point was
not
like
with
a world
Danny. No, no,
championship.
it's serious business. No, and that's why he was as well. That's why he's as good as he is now at his job. I mean, I
Yeah,
think Danny is now kind of what Jerry West used to be. And no disrespect to
yeah.
Jerry, the logo, but I mean, but Danny is probably the top basketball man in the league right now.
Danny did whine, boy. He sure whined to the officials. That's one thing that Danny did have no issues with was whining and crying all the time.
Yeah, and today he would be average.
Yes,
He would
yes.
be average or below average.
Great point.
And he was a
Yeah,
major whiner. It's kind of like Rick Barry would even just be slightly above
yeah.
average in
Uh-huh.
today's game.
Yeah. All right. So Ryan, I got to bring you in. We got the Caucasian comment. All right. What are people what were you people calling you when you were Jerry's age, and which was not that long ago, obviously. But so you can remember. Jerry can barely remember back then.
Good afternoon, comment. It started off with Bo, and then it went to something that cannot be said on this show because they couldn't say my last name. So it was Bo.
It was Bo, huh? All right.
Bo, yeah.
All right. So guys, what do you think tonight? The Atlanta Hawks are in resting. Ryan, they've had a lot of issues, man. You wonder what's really going on within the walls of that organization.
Yeah, it's been really, really peculiar, Grant. It's hard to say. I don't study them a ton just when they're coming into town, but they have not been playing good basketball as of late. Double overtime, they did put up 141, but, they go as Trae Young goes and Deontay Murray.
Jerry, what do you think? I don't know if you've watched the Hawks much, but just from what you know, and what do you think's going on there? We're hearing stories with Nate McMillan and Trae Young, and are they, ramming heads?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Well, I think that's really it. I think your star is not on board with your coach, and coach is maybe not on board with your star, and Trae's a gifted guy, but I think Nate probably would like to see him be a little more committed to the defensive side of the ball, and getting DeJounte Murray they thought would solve a lot of those problems, and certainly Murray's played terrific, but defensively, is where the Hawks aren't the same as they've been. Offensively, they can still really score, and they've had a lot of injuries too. They
Yes, they
really
have.
haven't had their top guys. I think there's, it's either been Collins out or Capella out or Hunter out or Bogey out.
Yeah.
But when they're, I mean, I would still say they're one of those teams if they can, it's kind of like Brooklyn was. I mean, they've got time to sort it out, and they could still be a top six in the East, I think.
Jerry, help me out here. Is Nate McMillan the same Nate McMillan that just 2 years ago or 3 years ago took over a team that was dead in the water, turned them around, and they ended up in the Eastern Conference Finals? Or is that a different Nate McMillan we're talking about?
Very same McMillan. Very
okay.
same. Got him to the Eastern Finals, after taking over a dead in the water team year. And then the next year, of course, they got back to the playoffs, didn't do as well. And then so, yeah, it's like, really, do you think Nate forgot how to coach? I mean, good grief. Like I say, I'm on the. If I had to pick a side between he and Trae, I'd pick Nate's side. But I mean, I know in the NBA, and Trae is a major star. There's no doubt. He's proven that.
Yes, he is.
So you just hope that for Trae's sake as well as Nate's sake, that they get on board. They really need to.
Ryan, the Kings last night, excellent start on the road, back to back, idle Atlanta. I'm going to be curious to see what the first quarter looks like tonight. The Hawks are in a rut right now. This is a game where they had a day off. They got to start winning some games here. So I would expect the Hawks to play well tonight. That doesn't mean to me they're going to win the game, but they just beat Sacramento earlier in the season in Atlanta.
Yeah, they did. Trae Young had 35 in that one. I would expect them to come out with fresher legs, obviously, but I think the first quarter can't win the game, but you can certainly lose it if you come out slow. We've seen slow starts at home with the Kings, so if they come out slow, that could be a problem. But hopefully they're energized from the win last night and they're able to play all four and get the dub.
By the way, for those on the stream, Ryan and I will be on after the game, analyzing the Kings and the Hawks. We would appreciate it if you like the broadcast. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do so, as we love bringing the content right here on YouTube. And again, we had a great post-game show last night. We are a total of 7,000 and counting. Every time I look, the numbers go up. So we had a really good audience last night on our various platforms, and we're hoping to duplicate the same thing tonight. Whether the crowds have been phenomenal. I mean, Jerry, I don't know if I would say it's been like Arco Arena, but it's getting close to that feel when the place was rocking at Arco. I mean, the Golden One Center is starting to feel different than it ever has before.
Yeah, it's been absolutely. It's getting certainly close to that. And I've always said the Kings fans are very knowledgeable basketball fans, and they know what they're watching.
Mm-hmm.
They're seeing really a good team, developing team. Don't know how good yet, but a team that really likes each other, plays well together, unselfish.
Yep.
I mean, how long has it been since we've seen that? I mean, you're talking about 20 years, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a stretch there with Dave Yeager that they had almost the same thing going till they didn't.
Yes.
But still, I mean, I think that's the whole thing. I can feel pretty much like the Kings fans, because I'm a fan, and I just can't wait for the games. I'm enjoying the heck out of them. Where last few years I got league pass, so I'd watch somebody else half the time.
Yeah.
I just didn't really care about watching.
Well,
It wasn't any fun. And I love basketball more than I love any one team. And so, but this is a team that, I'm on board with. And by the way, I'm one of your viewers on post game. So you guys do a good job. And
thank you.
So I'll probably still be. I don't know if I'll stay up for the whole thing, but I'll give you 15 minutes.
Just so you know, you have an open invitation anytime you want to come on. And, you asked how long ago it was. I believe you were still jogging and smoking cigars back then. So it's been a while.
Yeah. Well, when the team goes east again, if it's, those early games, then maybe we can work something out.
That'd be great. We'd love to have you on, and really appreciate everyone's comments and everyone following us on the various platforms that we have. This is technology to me is amazing. It's just incredible. And we see the excitement building. I try not to allow myself to go there until after the All-Star break. Because, Jerry, you know this better than anybody on the entire stream right now. The Kings are one injury away, in my opinion, from this falling apart. And that's either not having Sabonis on the floor or Fox. And if either of those things happen, similarly, what we're seeing now in New Orleans with Zion Williamson. Now, they are used to playing without Williamson from last year. But the point I'm trying to make is if either of those two things happen in Sacramento, Fox or Sabonis go down for a significant period of time, this Kings team is going to have trouble winning more games than they lose.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's, I think the team could suck it up for a game or two, maybe, without either, but a long-term injury just be more than they could absorb. And so, knock on wood, they've been probably the healthiest team in the league, and they really need that to continue because, especially, Sabonis and Fox. I mean, they're irreplaceable in what Coach Mike Brown wants to do and needs to do.
Sabonis is incredible. I haven't seen any difference in his game with the thumb. Have you, Jerry? Ryan?
Ryan. Only thing I would say, he's fumbled a couple of balls, that are passed to him when he can't really, it doesn't affect him as much rebounding as catching passes. And I just had thought that maybe the thumb was part of that because he's got
Hmm.
terrific hands, but he's mishandled a couple of balls that you didn't see him mishandle, seemed like in the past, and that's very understandable because if you got, a thumb that's not right and certainly in
Yep.
pain, you'll try to all of a sudden you'll try to balance how you catch balls instead of just catching them.
Ryan, have you noticed any difference?
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah, to echo what Jerry said, I noticed a few times where he's tried to catch a pass or a bounce pass with his right hand, or at least slow it down with his right hand instead of putting out that left. And then obviously, when he gets around the rim, he's really trying to finish with his right hand rather than the left when he's dunking the ball. But other than that, same old Sabonis. What I worry about with him is going to the floor, because what's the first thing you do when you go to the floor? This. So it's only going to take one
Well,
fall on that thumb, and we all know how he plays.
Jerry would know that because Jerry, I think, falls on a fairly regular basis now. Is that true, Jerry? Is it the thumbs you worry
You
about?
know, every time I get up and start walking down the hall or something, I mean, I might bounce into something, and that's as everybody over 60 probably understands exactly what I'm saying, and anybody at 40 doesn't. So
You know
yeah,
what? That
balance
is
is
so true.
very important.
You know what? I have noticed that now that I've turned 60 and I'm 63. That is so very true. It's amazing how many things I'm knocking into. So you're telling me, Jerry, that's what I have to look forward to, getting progressively worse as I move up the ladder. Thanks. That's really reassuring, Jerry.
Well, it ain't gonna get better. I'll tell you that. I notice myself out for my walks, and I'll be leaning to the left like a car with a flat tire, and so
You're like
you just you gotta suck it up, big boy. Got to suck
you're
it
like the
up.
Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Jerry, we're not coming over with a jack to fix that tire, buddy. That's out of our realm.
No. I'm at the stage where I don't fix them either. I used to do that. Now just call a roadside assistance, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, we had Rich on the Listen App show, and Rich fell and had a significant injury. Matter of fact, I believe, Rich, you had surgery, if I'm not mistaken, and we hope that you're on the mend and doing well. So, and Rich is retired as well, and so Rich says, yeah, I can relate to what you guys are talking about. Absolutely. So, Ryan,
You just got to be more
Grant.
careful. You just got to be
Yeah.
more careful. That's all. I mean, don't take chances that you normally just took for granted. That's.
Yeah. And Jerry, you fell in front of everyone at the arena one time.
I sure did, and some people thought I was dead, and I tricked them. I wasn't, and but it was, it just fainted. But I had to wear a monitor for a while, and but we won the game though. So I always told Harold Presley hit a shot to win, and I always told Harold, I said, "Man, I can't be going through this every game just to get a win. You're especially to make Harold a hero is really hard."
Hey, Harold, good old Harold Presley. It was a tibia fracture, no surgery. That's right. Well, we're hoping that you're doing well. That is for sure. And after what we saw last night, or 2 nights or 3 nights ago, 2 nights ago on the football field, with people collapsing, listen, that's scary stuff. And we did think that you had suffered heart failure at the time. I mean, it was you don't remember obviously, but we were all frightened. We were really scared. I mean, thinking the worst at that situation for a moment or two.
Yeah, of course, I remember kind of leading up to it, and after I came to and all, and I immediately realized I didn't have any chest pains. So I was pretty sure that it wasn't that. So yeah, it's one of those moments that probably certainly scared my wife more than me. So I hope it scared her a little bit anyway.
Well, I'm sure it scared her, Jerry, because
She said it did.
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine the Reynolds household without Jerry Reynolds. And all of Sacramento. We can't go.
I was in my early 40s, and so she'd been without the sex symbol for a lot of years. So that would have traumatized her for sure.
Oh my gosh. Rhino, what do you think tonight? All right. Again, the Kings should have learned from this from a few weeks ago, coming off a long road trip and losing to a team at the time that had the worst record in the conference. So what's your gut telling you tonight?
First off, shout out to Rich. I wanted to get that in. He was up for the shot by Kevin Herter, him and about 30 other people. So hope he had a great time. My gut's telling me tonight it's going to be a little bit of a slow start. I think it's going to be back and forth, and it's going to be much like the Utah game last night. I think the Kings will probably pull away, maybe mid fourth quarter, and win by probably 7 or 8.
Yeah. Jerry, what do you think tonight? You think the Kings? I would think, based on what happened in the previous homestand, they can't play to the level of their opponent anymore.
No, and really, like I say, the Hawks are not a low level talent team. I mean, they're a high level talent team, so they just haven't been playing well. So you always got to be worried. I think that just for the Kings to do the three things they need to do are simple. Take your threes, make your threes at 36% or better. The
That's
bench
the whole
has
league.
got to
Every night. That's
perform
the
well.
game now. That's
Yeah,
all the league is now, Jerry. I hate to say it, but that's what every game depends on
you
now.
got to make threes, and I think for the Kings, they have got to have a good assist to turnover ratio, and when they're at their best, they do. And I mean, so when you've seen like the Grizzlies where they were turning it over too much, it just doesn't work for them. So I think and the bench. I mean, the bench has been a little spotty lately, but I think they've got to step up a little bit because you can't just wait for Sabonis and Fox to win it for you.
All right, I'm going to go with the Kings win tonight too. I just think that they've got to they have to elevate in certain areas, and one of the areas is not worrying about the opponent. I actually am more confident when the Kings are playing a really good team at home than a team with a inferior record. That's just, and it shouldn't be like that. Jerry, we talk about this all the time. The Kings right now are 500 on the road at 9-9. If they can end up 500 on the road, there's very little chance of them not making the playoffs this year. So that's what they're doing on the road is, to me, so significant. That is where I look at this team's success. 500 on the road is really, really good.
Yeah, if they end up, I can tell you right now, if they end up 500, say slightly better than 500, that means they can win the championship. Because there's only going to be about 3 or 4 teams at the end of the year with a winning record on the road. That's always been the case. And in general, your championship contenders come from teams with winning records on the road, and it's a small group. And so I say I think the Kings have probably been more consistent on the road. I think the challenge for them is to really start owning the home court. And that's what you also need to do, and they haven't done that yet.
Well,
but the road work is outstanding.
I think if the crowd is the way it was last week with the Denver and Utah games, I think that's going to go a long way. That does help. You can't just ignore that. It's a factor, Jerry. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. That is a factor. Is it 5 points or 10 points of a factor? No, but in close games, I think it really helps.
Oh, no, there's no doubt. I mean, that in the NBA more than any other sport, home court is a factor, because there's plenty of evidence to that home teams win, more than 60% of the time. So clearly there's an advantage, and I think it not just affects, with the crowd enthusiasm helps. I think, and we've seen it. I think the crowd can intimidate officials a little bit more. You might get a couple of questionable calls, the calls that could go either way, charge block, seem to maybe, go your way a little more when the crowd's really intimidating like they have been.
Ryan, good stuff from you, and I'll look forward to having you join us back up on the post-game show, buddy. But I enjoy the group chat. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. Thank you so much. Have a great one, guys.
I appreciate it. Jerry, before I let you go, the Mavs now are starting to win, which they've had some very close games, but Luka Doncic has just been unbelievable. I mean, I don't know. Have we seen a player really like him? And if so, who would he remind you of?
I'll tell you and this shows my age, but the only guy I really think he reminds me of is Oscar Robertson.
Wow.
His ability to control a game, he certainly maybe over dribbles and all that, but I mean, Oscar did too. But basically, Oscar willed his team to win a lot of games with not much talent around him.
It's a hell of a comparison.
It is, and I mean, Oscar was a great rebounder from the guard position, as is Luka, And I mean, and as you pointed out, I mean, that game, I watched a good bit of that, 60 points, 20 rebounds,
Wow.
11 or 12 assists. I mean, my goodness, that's, and, but, yeah, I put him in. Of course, I always said Oscar may be the best that ever played, really, and complete fundamentally as a basketball player. But Luka's, he's in rare air. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. That play on the intentional missed free throw, for him to float to the left, come up with the ball, and shoot the ball all in one motion was one of the most amazing things that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, how instinctive was that? I mean,
Oh,
I mean, it's just like breathtaking, and
yeah.
of course, I mean, he knew you had to be it, but he has those special instincts that can't be taught. And I mean, it's just like his movements get to the basket so under controlled, and just works his way in. And that's why I say the only guy I can think of in my lifetime that could do
Yeah.
that, just work defenders to how he wanted them to be, and then get to the basket or get the shot he wanted. And yeah, marvelous talent. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
You-
One of the
you-
4 or 5
oh.
best in the world.
You talk about the instincts. It kind of reminds, me of you finding the best popcorn in the league. You just had that knack and that instinct to do that.
I did, and really it didn't have to go very far, because I think it's right there in Sacramento. I mean, well, that's what Bert and I would talk about a little bit, because he's a popcorn fan too, and he'd always talk about the
Yeah.
best popcorn in the league was in Sacramento, and I said, "Yep, it really is."
Well, that's good enough. Yeah, we would appreciate a thumbs up. And also, if you have not yet subscribed, please do so. Jerry, it's always great chatting with you. Good luck surviving the high winds and the rain out in your log cabin in the woods somewhere,
Yep.
wherever you are. And we'll look forward to chatting with you next week, my friend.
Can't wait, and we're really looking forward to your post-game show tonight. So, as always, great talking with you, Grant and Ryan. You guys be good.
All right, take care. That's good stuff from Jerry Reynolds right here. Really good stuff, man. Wow. Really so much fun. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you, Amir, and everyone else. Jerry is just an absolute treasure. He's great. Incredible. Hey, we're coming to you courtesy of New Works Plumbing of Sacramento. Locally owned for over 20 years, New Works has a fix for you for your plumbing needs and repairs. I guess I should get the message off the screen when I'm doing a live read. I love this. But again, back to New Works Plumbing, SacServicePlumbing.com, or call the number on your screen. They have got a fix for you. Oh my God. Hey, I'm the conductor of the orchestra. What can I tell you? These things do happen sometime. All right, so we will be back on, okay, right after the game tonight. Ryan will join me, and I think it's pretty neat that Jerry watches as well. He's a treasure. He's an absolute treasure. He really is a treasure. All right. Hey, I really appreciate everyone's support. I'm going to get ready to do my show coming up on Listen App as we have our open forum Wednesday. And it's always a fun day of the week for me and the audience. So I hope you can join me over on Listen App. And then tonight, right after the game, we will be back here on YouTube. All right. So have yourself a good rest of the day. Take care with the storm coming in. Be safe. Thank you very much, everybody. And we'll talk to you in a couple of hours right here on If You Don't Like That.